Well, great. I'll go ahead and kick us off. My name is Katie Richter, and I'm a senior account executive with Darby Communications. We are an Asheville, North Carolina based PR agency, PR and digital marketing agency. And all of our brands that we represent are in the outdoor fitness and wellness industries.
And hello, I am Melissa Vega. I am a brand and social strategist at R&M. We are in Raleigh. Technically, our office is in Cary, but we say we're a Raleigh-based agency. We're a brand experience agency that works with brands that positively impact our health, well-being, and social responsibility. So that can span anywhere from working with healthcare companies, e-prescription companies, to local organizations, to nonprofits. So anything that just positively impacts our lives. And we're brand experience, so anything that spans from digital marketing to helping with mergers and acquisitions to brand positioning, identity, website design, and development.
Hi, hello, I am Varn'et Jones. I am with, what you all know right now as SFW, but we just had a brand change. So we are now Sales Factory. We are a retail marketing company based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And we pride ourselves off using a data-driven approach to help brands win by helping them grow their sales, both in-store and online through e-commerce. We pride ourselves in being a scrappy, roll-up-your-sleeves mentality agency who always wants to learn about what we can do for our clients and our brands to help them win. I am a marketing strategy manager currently at Sales Factory. I've been there for going on 3 years. And I'll allow Sarah Shinsky to introduce herself, but she is here with me from Sales Factory as well.
Hey, I'm Sarah Shinsky. I am the Director of Operations and Resourcing at Sales Factory, which is still getting weird to say. I'm still like SFW, like rolls off the tongue still. I handle all sorts of internal processes and operations, making sure the company is running as smoothly and as efficiently as possible. In addition to that, I do the personnel side of HR, so performance planning, promotions, that kind of stuff. And then I'm also heading up the recruiting for the entire company.
Thank you all so much. Again, excited to have you with us. We're pretty cold and windy in Boone, so I think this is going to warm us all up with this conversation. So we'll just go in order of the agenda that we have shared, and just ask you, very often the words public relations and marketing, communication and marketing are used interchangeably. Would you tell us how these words, these industries, themes, whatever you want to call them, what do these look like in your company? And how these disciplines are similar or different, whether you want to break that up into two different responses. Let's start with R&M. Melissa?
Sure. So we were intentional about describing our agency as a brand experience agency. We take the holistic approach to being an extension of our brand's team. So whether that's their creative team or their marketing team. So we like to pride ourselves on being a brand experience agency. So in our expertise, we do, backstory real quick, I do have my bachelor's degree in public relations, but I actually ended up in the sister industry, which I like to refer to it as marketing. And so for us, our expertise lies within marketing and brands versus public relations. Although we do have someone on our team who did graduate with a public relations degree as well and was in a PR agency for a few years. So PR, when it comes to PR, we do partner with folks. We don't necessarily take on any PR initiatives or executing on public relations. In terms of marketing, for us, this is for our focus really is on that brand level. So for us, it's creating that positioning, really focusing on brand purpose. What's a brand promise? What's the brand's why? And then extending that. So whether it's focusing on that identity or their positioning in the market, and then what's their go-to market strategy. Also doing anything from social media management and content management, planning and strategy as well. So for us, public relations and PR do play in the same field. There are some nuances with public relations that just is not our bread and butter. And so we stay on the side of marketing more so, but we understand the beautiful relationship that PR and marketing have. And so we like to partner with either our clients' PR partners, which usually a lot of ours have like a separate PR agency that they work with. And we like to have this collaborative environment where we're able to work with one another and then bounce off one another's initiatives to ensure that their go-to-market strategy is on par and aligned across.
Sales Factory, one of you want to take that next?
Yeah, sure. I'll take it. So our company as a whole, considering ourselves a marketing company, we, as Varn'et mentioned, are very retail heavy, both in store and online, trying to drive sales for our clients. And so within the company, we have multiple departments. One is marketing strategy team, which they function more as account people. So they have Varn'et is marketing strategy. So she has that day-to-day relationship with the clients, excuse me, and is managing projects that they give us, and then also looking at the brand from a larger strategic perspective. So very top line, but also in the weeds, nitty gritty with projects. We have PR, and it sits in underneath our comms and content department, which also houses social media and copywriting. So in our world, the PR team, they work with people like Varn'et on the clients, but they're much more tactical in handling things like press releases, sort of crisis communication. Some of our clients have monthly press release and outreach that they want us to do. So the PR team would handle that. Does that make sense? Answer your question? Okay.
Katie, you want to round us out on that question?
Sure thing. So for Darby Communications, our bread and butter really is PR. And I think it's important to point out who our clients are. And they are largely outdoor brands or fitness wellness brands. So for example, Sierra Designs is a camping equipment manufacturer that I work closely with. They're one of my accounts, as well as Old Town Canoe and Kayaks. So a lot of the PR that we do is product focused. So let's say there's a new tent that's coming out this spring. Our job is to not only write press releases about this new gear or product or announcement, but to coordinate with journalists in different print, digital publications to then get press coverage and reviews of this product. It's not completely product specific. We work closely with our clients to decide what their bottom line is and what exactly they're looking for. Most of the time this is product, but sometimes it's a brand story or a give back campaign or some sort of brand awareness project that we would take a similar approach to. So most of our job is just a very close relationship with the journalists that we work with. And that is mainly computer-based, but we also do a lot of trade shows in person and media events to actually meet with these journalists and demo the products with the hopes that then they end up writing positive reviews about them. But we also have a whole digital marketing side of our agency as well. I think that a few years ago, the founders realized how closely connected digital marketing and PR are in a digital age. So to diversify and adapt or die, we diversified into a digital marketing agency as well. So we offer social media management, email marketing, influencer management. Some of our clients have athletes and ambassadors that they closely work with, and we help manage those teams as well. We offer content writing. And for some of our clients, they are up and coming brands. So they don't have the means to have a full marketing department. And in many cases, we end up as an extension of their marketing team by offering these digital marketing services.
Great, thank you. So I think we've got a little context about all of your organizations. Let's begin with Sales Factory. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love for each one. I know that students will be interested in hearing a little bit about your personal story, this career path that's taken you, let's say, from college academics, where they are now, to your current position. Would you share just a little bit about your career journey?
Yeah, I'll start. So I did undergrad with a major in communications and minors in photography and journalism. The media in general was just always very exciting to me. And I got out of school thinking I was either going to be a photographer or do something with photojournalism or photo editing or something. I moved to New York City and I lived there for a couple years, realized it's really hard to live there without any money. And so I ended up moving to North Carolina. Personal reasons also, my now husband and I were doing long distance, so we're here. And I got a job at Mullen Lowe in Winston. At the time they were just Mullen. And so that was 2006. And I worked my way up. I started as an admin there and went to the account team, and very quickly realized that I did not want to be client facing. I was so much more behind the scenes type person, and moved over to the creative department, which was kind of this really nice balance of still being surrounded by creative people, but also utilizing my organization and like process skills as well, because I've always been a very organized, list and detail oriented person. And I was in that role I was at Mullen for 12 years, and I was in that specific role for 10 of those 12. So things changed a little bit at Mullen back in 2018, and I got the job with Sales Factory now, because in 2018 they had a large growth year and had gone from a very small company to a mid-sized company, and they just needed more organization and processes put into place because they had gone on a hiring spree. So that's where I landed now. Was there more to your question? I'm sorry. That's good. Okay, Varn'et.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I'll follow up to say that I was a part of that hiring spree that Sarah mentioned back in 2018. But my story, I guess, starts at Carolina. I graduated in 2016 with a double major in PR and a major that they coined management and society. Sarah and I were just talking, PR were some of my favorite courses at Carolina, and I definitely have to go back and brush up on my coursework. Yes, I do still have all of my coursework from undergrad. And then from there, I spent a year at Wake Forest University getting my master's in business management at their business school. I loved it there, built a great network. And then from there, I spent a year as a copy writer or a technical writer at a software engineering firm here in Greensboro, North Carolina. Quickly realized that wasn't very much fun and that I wanted to get back to my core roots, and decided to pursue a career in marketing over at then SFW. And so I've been with Sales Factory for almost 3 years now. I started off as a marketing strategy coordinator or strategist, depending on where you are. And then a year later moved into my current role as a marketing strategy manager. And I get to work on brands such as Primo Water, GE, some smaller brands with their Amazon work. So it's always something new and exciting, and I enjoy it.
Thanks, Katie. You want to take us?
Sure. So my career path has been what I would describe as non-linear. I went to the University of Vermont. I got my Bachelor of Science in Natural Resource Ecology and Management. So in a roundabout way, I found myself back in the outdoor industry years later. But I also studied music while I was at school. And upon graduating, I got the opportunity to join a nationally touring band. I play trumpet. So I jumped on that opportunity and was working within the music industry for about 4 years. We were trying to break through in the industry, and as a small struggling band, we did all of the PR and marketing and social media management in-house. So we all did it ourselves. So that was kind of my first taste of PR. I saw how other bands were getting write-ups in big publications like Consequence of Sound, for example, and thought, hey, we should really be doing that. I guess I'll just start doing it. So it was all trial and error, totally self-taught. And I ended up having some success with it. We ended up moving down to Asheville from Boston, and friends and other musicians and artists in Asheville would come to me for advice. And that just gave me the idea of, hey, maybe I could start a freelance PR operation out of my bedroom, which I then did for about a year, but reached a point where I was really hitting a wall of what I could continue to teach myself and wanted to grow professionally. So after dabbling in some event management, found this opportunity at Darby Communications. The job position was for an account coordinator, and I was hired in 2018 and have been there enough time to be then promoted to senior account executive. So found my way in the PR world in a roundabout way, but I definitely feel at home here. I love being a part of the outdoor industry. I love all sort of client-facing work. The media trips that we get to plan are definitely what excite me the most. We get to travel a lot, so I have been very happy in this new career path for me.
And I'll wrap us up. Very much like Katie, I have a very nonlinear path as well. So for all of you students who are on the call, no worries. If you're fretting and if you're like, I'm graduating soon, I don't know what to do. I was right there with you. And for me, I knew I wanted to get into public relations and communications when I was able to attend one of those like leadership camps. Mine was at American University, and it was for communications and journalism, I believe. And from that moment, we were able to like take classes around like what it means to be to have relationships with journalists or to be in public relations. And I was just like, head on, I love this. I love storytelling. I love connecting. This is my route. And then college burnt me out a little bit. And so when I graduated back in 2012 with a degree in public relations, communications, public relations, and a minor in sociology, I just needed like a break. I just needed like a mental break to figure out, okay, is this the path that I want to go on? Do I want to jump right into a career? And part of me was leaning towards not so much. And I did a couple things before I really landed where I am today. And a couple of those things include being a junior loan processor. Super random, very boring. I won't get into that. And that trajected me into working at a YMCA Camp Greenville as their digital media specialist. I had a couple college friends from App State who taught there, and they were looking for someone to take photographs and create teary-eyed slideshows of the kids, of their activities. And I'm like, this sounds like a dream. I never attended summer camp. I love to be outdoors, hence attending Appalachian State University. And I was like, you know what, this feels right. And I ended up staying there for 6 more months as an outdoor educator, which influenced me to think a little bit more about what I wanted to do next, which was then teach English in Spain. And I lived there for about a year, and so glad that I did. It was something that I knew I needed to do in my 20s, because now that I'm closer to my 30s, if not 30 right now, I knew I wouldn't have the opportunity, or it would be a little bit harder to do so. So from there, that's where I taught English. I got to travel a lot, and I got to know myself better. And I think after just taking a step back from what I graduated with, it actually pushed me 10 steps forward into knowing that this was truly my path. And after that, I, long story short, ended up having an internship at a marketing agency in Raleigh, Walk West. So I've worked at a couple agencies so far. I've worked at Walk West, a strategic communications agency named Bearing, and then now here a brand experience agency, R&M. And I'm so glad for the trials and tribulations and the pivots and the adaptations, that I had a lot in my 20s, because it just reaffirmed for me, or confirmed for me, that this is what I love to do. And no matter where I found myself, whether that's in Spain or on top of a mountain, I'm working at a camp or doing paperwork for a loan officer, it made me realize how much I love to connect, how much I love connecting brands, how much I love talking about brands, talking to people, being on the client facing side, just like Katie mentioned, just getting to understand people's why, digging deep, researching. It just sort of encompasses all the parts of my brains that I love. It really aligns my head with my heart, and that I'm good at as well. So that's always like a thumbs up when you can do something you love, do something you're good at, and do something that makes sense. So yeah, that's landed me here as the brand and social strategist. And really, I'm many of things. I'm a Jane of all trades, but I'm just the connective tissue that gets to align our creativity with our creative team, with our strategy, and then with their overall marketing plan. So I like to think of myself as this nice little in-between person in our trifecta. And I get to connect with our brands and with the folks on the other end. And it's been an awesome and long process to get to this point, but I'm glad that I'm here.
I think that these are all encouraging stories to students. And I think if there's one thing to drive home that we talk about in career development all the time, is that success isn't always linear. And so I appreciate all the stories here. And, you just mentioned adaptability, Melissa. That's a good segue into our next question. In career development, we're talking a lot always about career readiness and, how students are not defined by their major necessarily, but their skills, their qualities, their traits. And so would you, let's see, we'll go back to Katie to start. What are the skills and experiences that your organization looks for from new college grads? If you're hiring interns, early grad, young professionals, can you take us down that direction, down that path?
Of course. So like you mentioned, success is not linear. In my case, I didn't have a PR communications degree at all. But I think that does set you up for success if this is an industry that you do want to get into, of course. I think that some interest in communications is an absolute must, if not some experience already. As far as some qualities, we're looking for candidates that have excellent writing, editing skills, excellent communication skills. Time management is really important because in an agency setting, we are touching several different accounts that require different tasks with different deadlines. So that is imperative. We're looking for somebody who is willing to be a part of a team. That is super important. Teamwork is very important in an agency setting, and especially at our agency. The pandemic has been hard for us because we are so used to bouncing ideas off of each other all the time. There is a constant sharing of ideas and opportunities. So that is really important. As far as some skills or platforms that we use often, that would just be good to brush up on. All of our reporting is done in Google Analytics. So I think it's important to familiarize yourself with Google Analytics. We use MailChimp for email marketing, Sprout for social data reporting. What else?
And so seeing those on a resume might actually really help get your resume in the review pile if you happen to have experiences with those.
Yes, yeah, I would absolutely agree. Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Anything else you want to add to that, Katie?
I think that pretty much rounds it up. Yep. Thank you.
Melissa.
I'm going to bounce off what Katie said because she shared some wonderful things, and just add that to my list too. So I'll retweet what she said. And I'll just say too, with Google Analytics and MailChimp, there are certifications that you can go ahead and get that are free that you can do now. We always love to see that initiative when we see, wow, I'm like, you're already Google Analytics certified? I was like 3 years into my career before I even did that. So that initiative, that just awareness that is out there, is awesome. You can always get recertified. That's something that I'm currently working on too, is getting recertified in Google Analytics, because like everything, technology changes so fast. So love what Katie was saying. To add to that, just a reminder that you are not expected to know everything right away. And that is okay, I promise you. You know, feeling comfortable around asking questions, probing for examples, being inquisitive, being super curious. Curiosity is a representation that you care about the work that you're doing and you have a genuine interest in it. So I love being stopped and pausing for a minute and be like, oh, but why? You're like, that's a great question. And it makes me think about the work that I'm doing instead of being in gotta do it mode. It's a nice reminder to think and then do. So a digger, someone who asks the why, you know, and just a good mix between a dreamer, a thinker, and then a doer. So someone who's actually able to promise delivery and then actually do the delivery. You know, at this point in your career, as you look into internships or an entry-level position or a junior position at a company, your work ethic is going to shine brighter than your talent and experience. Not that you don't have talent and experience yet, but you know that you're still on your growth path for that. But that work ethic is really going to shine the brightest. And by work ethic, I don't necessarily mean burning yourself out. I don't recommend that. I've done that and it's not great. But you can show your work ethic in different ways. For example, finding solutions for problems around the office that other people don't have time to do. Coming to us with solutions first before problems, like that sort of mentality, that shows leadership quality, that just shows initiative, and that shows that you care about the success and that you are, like what Katie said, you are part of this team. You're going to work with a ton of personalities on your internal team and clients, some not so great, and you're going to be put in some tricky and sticky situations. Knowing how to hold others accountable and hold yourself accountable as well, but doing so professionally. Having people skills, even in this age, is actually even more important because it's so hard to show your personality and to show your energy through a camera. So that's something that I've had to work on as well, of like, how can I show my warmth, or how can I show my personality, even though they only are seeing me through the camera? They might not be looking at me all the time, but also not by burning myself out, by like constantly just like smiling, because we know that's not reality. Some other things, I think it's awesome if you know exactly what you want to do. But for me, what worked well is being more of a generalist at the beginning of my career. So not being like, I love SEO, I'm going to do SEO. For me, understanding the parts and pieces of SEO, email marketing, market research, social, I personally just didn't want to put myself in a box too early, and I wanted to explore more. So that helped me. But hey, if you're like, nah, social media is my thing, I'm like way ahead of the curve, I'm going to do this, that could also work for you. A couple of things to wrap it up would be showing your passion, being professional, being prompt, and being personal. The willingness to learn, to grow, to adapt, and easily pivot. And then also the ability to not only teach across, so across to the rest of your team, but learning how to teach up. So I have this awesome opportunity with the size of our company that we're 12. And I work next to our CEO, probably the most out of everyone in my company, just based on how our structure is currently structured right now. And, you know, she always is so, I'm so fortunate that she listens to me and she's willing to listen and be taught. And so your ability to not only to teach across, or even, I don't like saying teach down, but I can't think of a better word right now, but the ability to teach up is important too, and to be able to talk to leadership.
All right, Sarah, Varn'et, anything to add there?
Honestly, there's not much to add there. I think Melissa and Katie literally covered it all. I like everything that was mentioned. I was nodding my head in agreement because those are things that have helped me succeed in my first 3 years in pursuing my career. Definitely be inquisitive, definitely be a lifelong learner. Learning does not stop after you turn your tassel. Walk into an organization and be confident in your ability to grow. They already know you're smart. They already know what you're capable of achieving. That's why they hired you, or that's why they gave you that internship position. But if you go in willing to make a difference or to step up where others aren't doing it, or for what Melissa said, don't have the time to do it, then you're really going to stand out and be, have a lasting impact past your last day of your internship. Be hardworking, always be responsible. Your supervisors or the person who's overseeing they're going to be busy. So if you're taking that initiative and you're making sure your work gets done and you're checking in with them as opposed to the other way around all the time, you're like a godsend to them, because you're no longer a responsibility, you're an asset. Always be curious, ask those questions. I remember one of the first biggest projects I was working on, it was with our CEO. And he was giving me the rundown on the project he wanted me to help with, but there were so many holes, and I was nervous to ask questions, because at first it seemed like, okay, if I'm asking questions, it seems like I don't know what I'm doing. And when I actually stepped up to ask those questions, he was like, oh, good questions. And he gave great follow-up. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. It makes you seem like you're on it. Be independent, be collaborative. You'll always have a group of people who are going to be there to support you, and it doesn't make you dependent. It makes you seem open to wanting to have a better outcome, not just with your own brain, but that collaborative effort is super important. I remember when I first interviewed, I wanted to dabble in creation and then strategy, and you have people at your agency or at your firm who are there to execute. So if your expertise is in strategy and their expertise is in execution, why not use that to your advantage? You don't have to be a one-band show. And then just be open to others' ideas and perspectives. One initiative that we have put into place in 2020 was a D&I committee, or we call it a growth group. And not only is it diversity and inclusion for those who we potentially want to hire in the future, but for our current workforce, we want to make sure that everyone's ideas are heard and respected. And that everyone who's employed at the sales factory implements those actions in their day-to-day with their coworkers and how they communicate with our clients and our clients' work. So I think all those things are super important to being successful in any role you take on.
Thank you so much. I hope the students are absorbing all of this. It's so much good information. And I have a couple of more questions prepared. And Varn'et, you said something that was the perfect segue. I think it was, ask questions. And so I have a couple more prepared, but I'd really love to just go ahead. I like where we are on time, and see if any students would like to put any questions in the chat, or if you would like to put an X there and I can call on you and you can ask your question on camera and unmute. Any takers? Join in, students. Okay, and I can't see all the names so well. Is it Kenny, Kenneth? Let's go with that person first.
Kennedy? Me? Is that me you were calling on?
Yeah, Kennedy, go for it.
Okay, can you hear me? My microphone is weird.
Now you're coming. Keep talking.
While you were talking about inclusion on that topic, how do your companies operate with people who are extroverted, with people who are introverted? Because you do have client-facing people and then you have like the back house. So how does that work within your companies?
You guys just jump in.
I'll try. I'll start. That's a great question. Very nice to meet you. One of the things that we work on best. We're a nimble team of 12. And we have a lovely mix between extroverts and introverts. I'm pretty sure it's about half and half. And the first thing, we're considerate in our hiring process to ensure that there's like a good mix. So our hiring process is not siloed. So when I got hired, I actually had to meet with everyone on the team. I was pretty well into, the final, like you're hired, but part of that was just getting to understand the culture, getting to understand how people work. And it truly is, it's difficult sometimes, right? Like we all come from different personalities, different backgrounds, and have different perspectives. I think the understanding and the intention of understanding how someone works and not necessarily working around them, but working with them is the true like secret sauce. And something we also do is we took, it's sort of silly, but we took all of our personality tests. We're very open about what our Myers-Briggs are. I'm an ENTJ or ENFJ. I forgot. I'm one of those. I'm an extrovert, but technically on the percent, I'm not as extroverted as the rest of my team, which sometimes can feel a little overwhelming, right? When you're, you could be on a team of 10 extroverts and you're that one introvert. But the true, I guess, secret sauce is getting to know everyone on a personal level and just asking directly, what works for you? Do you thrive in an environment where you're called out to answer questions, or do you prefer more one-to-one critiques? Do you prefer more of this? And hopefully you land in a company that is accepting of that and accepting of how people work. And, you're not all just, it's not just one way or the highway. So for us, it's just so specific to each individual, getting to know that, and then being comfortable with it, and then just moving with it and going with the flow with it and seeing what works best.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I can take that one. We do personality tests as well. I don't think they're the Myers-Briggs, but we do them prior to hiring people. Sometimes we do them for interns, usually the summer interns, but we definitely do them for potential hires. And I remember when I was interviewing and Jeb was like, here, take these tests. Some of them are timed. And I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was in 4th grade failing my math test. I was like, I don't know what time the train gets to the station. Like, I have no idea. And it stressed me out. But on the other end of it, I realized now why they're so important, because we as managers use them to help the way that we are molding the people that work for us, how we interact with them, because everyone has different personalities, and different work styles. So it's not necessarily that we're entirely shifting to them, but at least it's something that stays in the back of our mind, that I know that Varn'et is type A and organized, and like I can work with her in that versus someone who's not quite like that. So we do those, and then we really encourage communication throughout the year with employees and supervisors. We do annual performance assessments, which is a very structured and formal and documented assessment with employees and supervisors. But throughout the year, we just encourage the supervisors and the employees to connect and see how things are going, what's working and what's not. And with the D&I committee, the growth group that Varn'et mentioned, a lot of that, we got so much feedback from our staff on what's working and what's not. And so it's really helped us keep our minds open as we're moving forward and going in with new initiatives.
Thank you. Katie, anything to add?
I would just add that our agency is also small. We have 10 people, including the founder of the company. And we really try to play to everyone's strengths. Not everyone is going to feel comfortable taking those presentation opportunities or, those face-to-face media event opportunities. And that's okay, because we don't need everyone to be fulfilling those roles. We need people who are manning the fort, so to speak, and handling the behind the scenes organizing for the event, or handling all the logistics or the analysis of all the data. So I would say that people who are not quite as extroverted in this industry are also an asset, because we need those people as well.
Great. So I'm going to ask JC to ask his question, and I'm going to pop in following that. and ask you all to share if you anticipate having internships or full-time opportunities for any of the students who might be seeking those opportunities. So JC, if you'll ask the question, and then maybe let's respond as quickly. We'll try to get to everybody's questions and try to wrap up maybe 10 till 5 till.
So yeah, my question was actually surrounding the some of the analytics technology that you mentioned, Katie, and then Melissa commented on as well. That I've had a little bit of experience with Google Analytics. What do you guys think about analytics for different types of browsers? And is there one maybe tool that you can use that you've heard about that you can use to gather information from various browsers?
I'm trying to unmute myself here. So I will start off by saying that I am not the strongest on our team with the data analysis, but we use Google Analytics. We also use a plugin called SimilarWeb just to track the impressions of a website for a specific piece of coverage. We have also developed our own reporting system because for PR, the metrics of success are kind of tricky because you can't track a print hit in a magazine the same way that you could track something digitally. But that's not to say that it doesn't have the same impact, because that is almost like a piece of artwork that somebody is inviting into their home. So it has a completely different value assessment than just the data. I know this isn't a great specific answer to your question, so I'm sorry, but we use Muckrack as well, if you're familiar, or if you guys have ever used Muckrack. It's a great tool for PR professionals to not only track potential journalists to reach out to for pitches, but also it's like a net for all of the coverage that you earn, and it puts it in a really nice report for you.
And I'll add to that. I'm also not the the data. I don't wear the data hat quite often. How we use, let me fix my camera real quick. Where we typically use data is when we're doing our website design and development, just auditing the website. So that's where, and monitoring it as well. So that's where Google Analytics really is the crux of that. And, with Google Analytics, you're able to understand the user behavior of folks on the website, how long they stayed on the website, if they bounce right off the page, all that goodness. And I hear that some courses are teaching Google Analytics. So that's amazing. And I wish I had that in college. So yes, pay attention to that if you're taking Google Analytics class. Google also has a ton of other free reporting and free collection of data, I suppose, apps as well. So Google Tag Manager, so you can just understand and being able to collect and put in like your behavior on setting goals on your website, things like that. Data can also be collected if you have Sprout. Social is a very expensive tool for agency and for personal, but Katie mentioned this. I love Sprout. I'm like Sprout fangirl. And we were just able to get it for one of our clients, which is awesome. And they have reporting on social as well. But honestly, when we do a lot of our reports, a good number of it is quantitative and a lot of it is qualitative. So, Katie touched on this as well. Understanding like a tone or the sentiment across something is not something that Sprout Social necessarily does for a certain piece of that technology. And that's something that you have to sort of do yourself. When you go on and you understand, like, how are they communicating? Are they responding? Are they commenting? If you're trying to understand the SEO or the on-site SEO of a website, Screaming Frog is a free tool. I think it's up to 500 pages that it can download, but that's something that we use. Understanding site speed is also important. That's like, I think if you just put in site speed in Google's free app or free technology will pull up as well. So I think there's a ton of free things that even us as agencies use. And it's just really understanding not only how to collect that data, but what that data is saying. And that's really like the hardest part, is truly creating recommendations and next steps after that. More than happy to connect with Deanne, and so I could write like a list of some technology that we use that could be helpful for you all, at least just to look into and research and familiarize yourself with, just in case you want to prep yourself for an internship or a job. So hopefully that helped as well.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm gonna miss William. He had to go to class. So let's try to wrap with this. If you've got preferences, panelists, for contacting and follow up, whether it's questions or inquiries, but I'm sure that a lot of students would be very excited to have the opportunity to work with you in some capacity. I don't remember who started first, last, and so I'll just let you see who can start. But would you come on quickly and let us know if you plan to be offering internships or if you think you'll be hiring come May, August, fall?
Yeah, I'll jump. So we currently are looking for a junior copywriter, which is a recent grad, a social media strategist, which is also a recent grad, a social media manager who would be the next level up. So for people who have a couple years experience, and then we're also looking for summer interns across all of our different departments. So research, marketing strategy with Varn'et, creative, digital, so like e-commerce, digital marketing strategy, and then also comms and content. So public relations, social media, and copywriting. We are running into all of the typical glitches and bugs that you would think you would when you switch over to a new brand after 24 hours. So those jobs were posted on our old site and they're not at the moment. So that's something we're trying to fix, but that would probably be the best way to apply on there once we get it up, hopefully within the next day.
Yeah, and I'll encourage everybody, if someone within your organizations can just take a few minutes to post in Handshake. And students, please, please, please use Handshake, build your profiles, upload resumes, and check Handshake on a regular basis. We're seeing amazing opportunities coming in all the time. Katie or Melissa, do you know anything about internships or jobs?
I can go ahead. I believe that we will be hiring an account coordinator position, which is an entry-level position. Probably sometime like spring, early summer. That is not set in stone. So I would just check our website regularly or send your resume to me. I threw my email into the chat, so you all should have it. And that, like I mentioned, is an entry-level position. It basically is support to all of the account managers. So you would be touching several different brands, specifically doing a lot of research on different journalists to reach out to pitch a specific product or brand story. You would be also assisting with data entry for all of our reporting. You probably would touch some other projects like media events, probably some social media management, email newsletter design. It all just kind of depends on which accounts need the support.
And for R&M, we are thinking about, we had our internship program last year, and we hired both a marketing intern, or actually we hired 2 marketing interns and a design intern as well. And I believe this year we'll be launching our internship program again this summer, and for marketing and or design interns. So I'm going to drop my email in here as well, so you can stay in touch with me directly. You can also follow us at R&M on all of our social, that's where we like to post. And I'll also be sure to post on Handshake as well once that position is solidified. I play a supporting role for our internship program. I do not lead our internship program, so there's a few nuanced details that I'd like to speak to with our manager who handles our internship programs. I will say we just hired a brand coordinator, and she was one of our summer interns, and then actually stayed on as a part-time position, and then which led to a full-time role. And so I do encourage you to look at our internship programs, because just like many of us here, we're trying to stay nimble and pivot with everything COVID has created in our industry and just in the world. And so a lot can change within a couple minutes or a couple months in terms of when we hire or how we hire or what we need to hire for. So we are a team that does stay pretty small, but that doesn't mean that there isn't growth plans for us in 2021. So I do encourage that. And I also just want to say thank you. Go App State, number one, and to just soak it all up. And your future it's like an ocean. It's like very overwhelming, but don't be overwhelmed by it. Sometimes opportunities fall in your lap. Sometimes you got to dig 500 feet to get them. I think the realization to understand what is an opportunity and what is not is like the biggest thing. So don't technically wait around for it. You can create it, but also if it hits you in the face hard, don't ignore it either, because you never know.
Thank you, Melissa. You all have been an amazing panel. I'm so excited we were able to change this format, that you all said yes to our request and that you have given us your valuable, valuable time. Hannah, I'm sorry we couldn't get to your question. And Kyle, I don't know if anybody was able to get some information to you, but you are welcome. You've got their information. I'm going to put my email address in here. I'm happy to be a follow-up resource. Let me just give a couple of commercials, please. Let me encourage you. I can't say it enough. Follow up. Even if you aren't thinking about internships or if you're not in a place to apply for jobs, please email contact these panelists and say thank you for their time. This is the biggest mistake that students make. They don't follow up. So say thank you, ask a question, and just connect. LinkedIn, email. Other commercials, I'll say, I mean, literally in 5 minutes, we have a different type of panel that is largely themed just communication in general and nonprofit. I know we've got PBS as one of the panelists, so go stretch your legs, get a snack or whatever, join that one. And then there's another one about broadcasting advertising at 1. And then for those of you who have friends who might feel like, I don't know what I want to do, and I really need to find work, whether it's that loan processing job or something else. I'm doing a panel this afternoon at 4 that basically talks about how your major doesn't define you. We'll have this skills conversation again. We have panelists from tomorrow's management training, leadership development fair that we're having. So if you know anybody who's stressing about, these next steps, encourage them to pursue the panel, to join the fair tomorrow, and keep checking Handshake and Engage. We have more programs and panels coming up, and we love serving you, our students. So I want to thank students for making time. This is what we love, and we are happy to make the connection. So panelists, thank you. Students, thank you. Susan, anything? I don't know if you're still with us. Anything you want to say?
I am. I'm here. I can stay in the room. I know some people may have some questions they didn't get to ask. I don't think it'll cut off, maybe, if I stay. So I'm willing to stay for a few minutes if anyone wants to stay. And our employers, thank you. Great advice and sharing your story. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome panel. Thanks.
Thank
Meet you all.
Great.